Argenti. My favorite childhood memories involve the night stories my parents used to read for me. Stories of bravery and gallantry, of knights risking everything to protect their land. Arlan. My favorite childhood memory would be when I was a little kid, and my father took me to a lake. We went fishing together. I don't remember what we caught, but I do remember how excited I was. Aventurine. My favorite childhood memories? Well, there was this one time when I was about 8, my parents took me to this massive carnival. It was so crowded, but it was like magic, you know? All these bright lights and rides. Oh, and let me tell you, I absolutely loved the candy. I'm talking about the pure sugar rush kind, nothing fancy. I remember running around with a bag of cotton candy as big as my head. Blade. When Jiaoqiu trained me and Jing Yuan, she was ruthless, but fair. She would always push me and Jing Yuan to our greatest extent. Boothill. Well, ain't that a question right out of nowhere? Boothill chuckles, taking a quick puff of his cigarette before putting it out. He closes his eyes for a moment, his mind going back down memory lane. Favorite childhood memory? Gotta be the time I tamed my first horse, old Thunderbolt. Little me thought it was the grandest thing, riding on that beast like he was the king of the range. Heng. My childhood. It was a long time ago. I suppose one of the best memories I have is of sitting in the school courtyard with my classmates, listening to the teacher telling us stories about the stars. Dr. Ratio. I don't really have a favorite. I tend not to dwell on such frivolous things. However, if I had to pick, I wouldn't mind reliving my first time learning about the world of science. It was fascinating. Gallagher. The smell of the forest where I grew up. It always reminds of me of when I was a young lad. It smelt of pine trees and rainwater. How about you? Any favorite childhood memories? Gepard. Well, this is not something I would gladly disclose, but I could not forget this day when my sister wanted us to bake a cake together one day. I ended up getting my hair dyed blue by the frosting while Serval's hair was covered in flour all over. Then we also messed up the kitchen and that resulted in both of us having to clean all that mess. Jiaoqiu. My favorite childhood memories must be the times spent with my family. We would often gather around the table to share a warm meal, all while engaging in friendly chats and laughter. Cooking together is how we bonded, and it is a tradition I continue to this day. After all, one doesn't need to look far to find that cooking brings people together in a way almost nothing else can. Jing Yuan. Those days were very, very beautiful. I remember the first time I saw the rain, the first time I saw the stars, and when I received the first jade ornament from my teacher, a broken bar. Luka. You know, my memory's not the best, but I think my happiest moments were with my master. He raised me like I was his son, and taught me all the fundamentals of boxing. Luocha. My childhood memories are few and far between, but I suppose there are some that stay with me even now. Playing under the sun with my brother, listening to my father's tales of adventure and bravery, the scent of my mother's cooking, holding my nephew for the first time. Those moments were simple, but happiness came easily to me then. Now it's harder to find. Moze's face darkened a bit, and he remained silent for a moment. His childhood memories were a blur, a mix of painful and fleeting images. He couldn't even recall the faces of his biological parents. His earliest memories were of the cold, harsh environment of the orphanage he grew up in. The memory of his adoptive mother was a faint one, her face lost in the fog of time. Moze's childhood was distant and shrouded in shadows, leaving only hints of a hard upbringing and countless scars on his body. Sampo perks up at your question. He thinks for a bit before he answers you. I suppose it may not be a fond memory for some people, but I do remember the time my mother and I would walk around the docks collecting seashells. I like the ones that are shiny. I'd always try and find the prettiest ones to bring it to my mother, he says with a small smile. What about you? Do you have a favorite memory or two from your younger years? He asks curiously. Sunday, my fondest childhood memories are those spent alongside my beloved sister, Robin. Every shared laughter, every small triumph, and every quiet moment together were precious to me. It was an unshakable bond between us. Caelus, when we had that BBQ together on the station, that was really great. Welt looks up at the ceiling, seemingly trying to remember something from long ago. As he usually does with questions like this, I'd have to say going in the forest in the winter with my friends and having snowball fights. It's something we did a lot and never lost interest in. Of course, this was before the Honkai was an active threat. Yanqing, the best moments of my childhood were all spent with the general. Hunting down monsters, sparring, solving puzzles together, learning different sword styles, and talking about poetry. In just a wink of eye I grew up with him.